The California sun, usually a beacon of warmth and promise, felt different that summer. It hung in the sky like a distant memory, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly. The golden hues of the sunset, once a symbol of hope and new beginnings, now felt like the closing of a chapter, a prelude to the encroaching darkness. A chill settled over the Golden State, seeping into the shadows. It was as if the very essence of California had been altered, the warmth replaced by an unsettling cold. The once vibrant neighborhoods now seemed cloaked in an eerie silence, the kind that makes you question every creak and whisper. A darkness had descended, a predator lurking in the night. The streets, which were once filled with the sounds of life and laughter, now echoed with an ominous silence. Every corner, every alleyway seemed to hide a lurking menace, waiting to pounce on the unsuspecting. The balmy air, once filled with laughter and the scent of blooming jasmine, now carried a whisper of fear. No one felt safe. Sleep offered no sanctuary. The nights were long and restless, filled with the constant dread of what might come. The familiar scent of jasmine, which once brought comfort, now served as a reminder of the lurking danger. The monster was out there, waiting, watching. He was a shadow among shadows, blending seamlessly into the night. His presence was felt more than seen, a constant reminder of the peril that loomed over the city. Every flicker of movement, every shadow cast by the dim streetlights, was a potential threat. This was no ordinary criminal. This was a being of pure malevolence, driven by a dark and insatiable hunger. His actions were not just crimes, they were acts of terror designed to instill fear and chaos. The city, once a beacon of hope and opportunity, had become a hunting ground. This was something more sinister, something that defied explanation. The fear he instilled was not just physical, but psychological. It crept into the minds of the residents, making them question their own safety, their own sanity. The very fabric of the community was being torn apart by this unseen force. Homes, once considered havens, became prisons of fear. The walls that once provided comfort and security now felt like barriers, trapping the residents in their own personal nightmares. The darkness outside seemed to seep into every corner, every crevice, making it impossible to escape the pervasive sense of dread. Locks were double-checked, windows bolted shut, but the dread remained. No amount of security could dispel the fear that had taken root. Every sound, every movement was a potential threat. The sense of vulnerability was overwhelming, a constant reminder of the lurking danger. Every creak of a floorboard, every rustle of leaves outside the window sent shivers down spines. The once comforting sounds of the night had become harbingers of terror. The wind, which once brought a cool respite from the summer heat, now carried with it the whispers of impending doom. The Night Stalker, they called him, a name that struck fear into the hearts of millions. He was more than just a man, he was a legend, a myth that had come to life. His very name was enough to send chills down the spine, a reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of the light, a name whispered in hushed tones, a specter haunting the dreams of millions. He was the embodiment of fear, a shadow that loomed over the city. His presence was felt in every corner, every shadow, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked just out of sight. He moved like a phantom, striking without warning, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. His attacks were swift and brutal, leaving no time for his victims to react. The aftermath was a scene of chaos and despair, a stark reminder of the darkness that had taken hold of the city. No one knew who he was, what he looked like, or where he would strike next. He was a ghost, a shadow that moved through the night with impunity. The uncertainty, the not knowing, was the worst part. It left the city in a constant state of fear, always waiting for the next strike, the next victim. Los Angeles, the city of angels, became the epicenter of a nightmare. Once a beacon of dreams and aspirations, the city was now shrouded in a thick fog of fear and uncertainty. The vibrant nightlife, the bustling streets, and the serene neighborhoods all seemed to be cloaked in an invisible menace that no one could escape from. The fear was palpable, a suffocating blanket of dread that settled over the city. Every shadow seemed to hide a potential threat, every stranger a possible danger. The once lively streets were now filled with anxious faces, people moving quickly, avoiding eye contact, and glancing over their shoulders. Parents held their children closer, their eyes scanning dark corners and alleys. The parks, once filled with the laughter of children, were now places of tension and unease. Families walked together, their steps hurried, their conversations hushed. The sense of community was overshadowed by a collective anxiety that permeated every interaction. Newspapers ran daily headlines, each more horrifying than the last. The media frenzy only added to the hysteria, with sensational stories and graphic details that painted a picture of a city under siege. The Night Stalker, as he came to be known, was the subject of every front page, his crimes dissected and analyzed in gruesome detail. The randomness of the attacks amplified the terror. No one was safe. The Night Stalker struck without warning, his victims chosen seemingly at random. This unpredictability meant that everyone felt like a potential target. People began to take extra precautions, locking doors and windows, installing security systems, and forming neighborhood watch groups. He targeted men and women, young and old. His victims came from all walks of life, and this only deepened the sense of vulnerability. The attacks were brutal and merciless, leaving a trail of fear and devastation in their wake. The city was gripped by a collective paranoia, with everyone wondering who would be next. He invaded homes, shattering the illusion of security. The sanctity of one's home, a place where people felt safest, was violated. The Night Stalker broke into houses, turning them into scenes of horror. The sense of safety that people once took for granted was now a distant memory. He seemed to revel in the fear he instilled, his crimes a grotesque spectacle of violence. The whispers started. Rumors spread like wildfire. Stories of his supposed supernatural abilities, his connections to dark forces, and his enjoyment of the terror he caused became common topics of conversation. The fear was not just of the physical threat, but of the unknown, the unseen. Was it a cult, a satanic ritual? The lack of clear motives and the sheer brutality of the attacks led to wild speculations. People began to believe that there was something more sinister at play, something beyond the comprehension of ordinary citizens. The fear of the unknown added another layer of dread to an already terrifying situation. The lack of a pattern, the brutality of the attacks, fueled speculation and fear. The police were at a loss, their efforts to catch the Night Stalker hampered by the randomness of his crimes. The public's trust in law enforcement began to wane, as each day brought news of another attack, another victim. The police, overwhelmed and under immense pressure, seemed no closer to catching the monster in their midst. The investigation was a labyrinth of dead ends and false leads. The frustration and fear were palpable, not just among the citizens, but within the police force itself. The Night Stalker seemed to be always one step ahead, a ghostly figure that eluded capture. The summer of 1985 became a season of unease, the sunshine a cruel mockery of the darkness that had gripped the Golden State. The bright, sunny days of California seemed to contrast sharply with the dark, oppressive fear that hung over the city. People went about their daily lives, but the sense of normalcy was shattered. The shadow of the Night Stalker loomed large, a constant reminder of the fragility of safety and the ever-present threat of violence. The Night Stalker didn't just kill, he terrorized. His presence was a dark cloud that loomed over the city, a constant reminder of the evil lurking in the shadows. Each night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, fear gripped the hearts of the residents. They knew he was out there, watching, waiting. His reign of terror was not just about the physical acts of violence, but the psychological torment he inflicted on an entire community. His crimes weren't just acts of violence, they were rituals. Each scene was meticulously crafted, as if he were performing some dark ceremony. The arrangement of objects, the symbols drawn, all pointed to a mind deeply entrenched in the occult. It was as if he believed he was channeling some dark power, drawing strength from the fear and pain he caused. He often forced his victims to swear allegiance to Satan, his voice a chilling whisper in the darkness. The terror in their eyes, the trembling in their voices, it was all part of his twisted game. He reveled in their fear, feeding off it like a parasite. Each whispered oath was a testament to his power, a dark bond forged in the depths of despair. Inverted pentagrams, drawn in blood or etched onto walls, marked his gruesome handiwork. These symbols were not just random acts of vandalism, they were his calling card, a signature that sent chills down the spines of those who found them. Each one was a message, a declaration of his presence and his intent. The blood-red symbols stood out starkly against the urban decay, a macabre reminder of the evil that walked among them. His methods were as varied as his victims. Shootings, stabbings, bludgeoning. Each act of violence was a new chapter in his dark saga, a testament to his boundless cruelty. The randomness of his methods made him even more terrifying. There was no pattern, no way to predict his next move. He was a master of chaos, leaving a trail of blood and fear in his wake. He seemed to delight in inflicting pain, his brutality knowing no bounds. Each victim was a canvas for his sadistic artistry, each act of violence a brushstroke in his masterpiece of horror. The sheer savagery of his attacks left even the most hardened investigators shaken. It was as if he took pleasure in pushing the boundaries of human suffering, exploring the darkest depths of cruelty. The randomness, the sheer depravity of his crimes, left investigators baffled. They were dealing with a mind unlike any they had encountered before, a predator who thrived on chaos and fear. Each new crime scene was a puzzle, a twisted riddle that seemed to mock their efforts. The Night Stalker was always one step ahead, a phantom that slipped through their fingers time and again. Some whispered of the occult, of dark forces at play. The symbols, the rituals, the sheer malevolence of his actions, all pointed to something beyond the realm of the ordinary. It was as if he was tapping into some ancient evil, drawing power from the darkness. The fear he inspired was almost supernatural, a chilling reminder that there are things in this world that defy explanation. The symbols, the rituals, the sheer evil that seemed to emanate from the crimes lent credence to these fears. Each new discovery added to the growing sense of dread, a feeling that something truly monstrous was at work. The Night Stalker was not just a man, he was a force of nature, a dark presence that seemed to warp reality itself. The Night Stalker, it seemed, wasn't just a man, he was a demon, a creature of nightmare-given flesh. His very existence was an affront to the natural order, a blight on the world. The fear he inspired was not just a reaction to his actions, but to his very presence. He was a living nightmare, a dark legend that would haunt the city for years to come. He was a demon, a creature of nightmare-given flesh. His reign of terror was a dark chapter in the city's history, a time when the line between reality and nightmare blurred. The Night Stalker was more than just a killer, he was a harbinger of darkness, a reminder that true evil exists in the world. And as long as his memory lingered, the city would never truly be free from his shadow. A 6-year-old girl, peacefully asleep in her bed. An elderly couple, enjoying a quiet and serene evening at home. A young woman, returning home from a night out with friends. The Night Stalker's victims defied any categorization. He preyed on the innocent, the vulnerable, and the unsuspecting. His youngest victim, a mere 6 years old, miraculously survived the brutal attack. His oldest, an 83-year-old woman, was not so fortunate. He crossed racial and socio-economic lines without hesitation, his reign of terror touching the lives of people from all walks of life. This randomness, this lack of a discernible pattern, only heightened the pervasive fear. If anyone could be a victim, then no one was truly safe. The very fabric of society seemed to be unraveling, the fear of the unknown seeping into every corner of daily life.